some standards on the desktop, let's take a look at additional data management options. There are three separate places to right-click and manipulate data: the desktop, the standard, and the batch. We will cover some options here, while others will be covered in the tutorial sessions. If you right-click on the desktop, List Desktop Standards allows you to activate or deactivate the visibility of the standards on the desktop. Selecting standards also offers the option to delete them off the desktop. The user can delete all standards by a button here, or right-clicking on the desktop and selecting the Delete All Standards option. Right-clicking on any standard offers the following. Store Current Standard allows the user to store the current standard in the database. Selecting this option shows a dialog box that allows the user to choose which folder to store the standard in. There is an option at the bottom of this screen to save the folder chosen as the default folder for the standard to be stored into. Retrieve Batch allows the user to retrieve batches that have been previously stored in the database for this standard. Retrieve Sample allows retrieval of a sample not designated as a standard or batch in Tools. Retrieve Standard as Batch. This allows the user to retrieve a standard stored in the database as a batch underneath the current standard selected. Store All Batches allows the user to store all batches on the desktop to the selected folder in the database. List Batches lists all batches on the desktop for the standard selected. The dialog allows you to check or uncheck the batches to either show the data for that batch or not in the data grid. This is also where the user can delete a batch or a group of batches off the desktop by holding down the Shift key. The total number of batches that you have on the desktop for that standard is shown at the bottom of the screen. Edit Desktop Standard Data allows the user to edit the measurement data for that standard. Rename Standard allows the user to rename the standard on the Desktop Explorer. Delete Current Standard will ask a confirmation, then allow for deletion of that standard off the Desktop Explorer. Standard Tolerance opens a dialog box that allows the user to select or set a specific tolerance for that standard. Right-clicking on batches allows for options associated with that batch. Store Batch opens a dialog to allow the user to store the batch in the database. Edit Desktop Batch Data. As with the standard, this allows for editing measurement data for the batch. Rename Batch to rename the batch on the desktop. Delete Current Batch allows for deletion of batch off the Desktop Explorer. Swap Standard Batch allows the user to set the batch as the standard and the standard as the batch. Many of these functions are also represented by command buttons.